An orc wearing a white lab coat said this would work. Angron feels an ungodly force behind him that is so strong he's paralyzed for a moment. If you kill him, he'll be back in 8 weeks, 8 days, and 8 hours. I am Isyander.
And I am Kora.
And thank you for tuning into this milestone episode.
Milestone episode?
It's 25.
It's 25?
Yeah. We have
25.
done a quarter of the way to 100, and we are not even close to being caught up with Warhammer. I'm not joking.
Hilarious, considering we're going to take a semester break for Dune next week.
But before we get into Dune, we need to finish up this quick recap on the current era.
Era Indomitus.
Where, no joke, the Necrons could probably return in their prime right now, and they'd win.
I'd love to see it.
But it'd be a closer fight than ever before. Well, maybe when the Emperor was still around, it'd be a closer fight. Moral of the story, everyone's getting a lot stronger right now. But before we get into that...
They've been hitting the gym. Some of them the mental gym.
We'll be doing an episode on Dune next week, led entirely by Kora over here. So that will be a stellar change of pace. But after that, we're going to delve right back into Warhammer because there's so much more to cover.
So much.
So you know the rules this time. Give you 4 factions. Top 3 get made. Last one falls off. It may come back. It may not. It probably will at some point. This time, the 4 options are the Night Lords, the Tyranids, the Tau, and the Grey Knights. Those were taken from the most consistent because while we don't run a poll on every video, we do see the comments where people constantly say day 47 of asking for X or Y. So
day 47 of asking for Night Lords. You finally got your wish. You have been seen.
So the others still have to vote for it. They could get primaried.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. I'm rooting for that guy.
So those are the 4 that have been... Oh, no, it's several. Those are the 4 that have been the most consistent. I'm so sorry, Salamanders. You were really close, but you were edged out by the psychopaths.
Nice guys always finish last.
Basically. So leave which ones you want to see in the comments for the next video after Dune. Now let's get into Era Indomitus. Starting with the biggest winners out of everybody in the universe, Chaos.
Chaos.
They are winning.
It's getting chaotic in this realm.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's not any one god, though there is one we're going to cover in specific.
Yeah.
All of them are pretty much a lot stronger than normal. I mentioned some of their shenanigans in the last episode, but a quick recap. They've ripped a scar across the galaxy that has brought hell to everyone's front doorstep.
Yeah.
No matter what. It's just there now.
You look up in the sky and nope, it's hell.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's living Perturabo's childhood.
Following this, Khorne spat an entire army out right on Earth just because he wanted to prove that he was that guy when it came to chaos. And Nurgle began waging a plague war, sickening a good chunk of the universe and outright killing Guilliman.
1, 2, 3,
Again.
4.
Again.
I declare a plague war.
But that isn't all they've been up to, dear fans. When this massive scar ripped across the universe, I wasn't kidding when I said laughter rang out across the stars.
Creepy.
To understand how big of an event this is, time as a concept is almost irreparably broken.
Fun.
When the crack happened, there was this wave of darkness that hit every planet, basically. Some only had funky time for a few days. Others could possibly still be experiencing it.
Funky time.
Yeah. So it just doesn't, time is flowing different. For some planets, it could be 1,000 years of being sieged by demons. For some, it could be like 5 minutes. Nobody knows. It's kind of difficult to pin down an exact chronology for things because of that. At least for the humans.
Time's getting funky. Everybody's going to experience it different. You're never going to know, are we all in sync? It's not like you have like a quantum chronograph set up on every single planet in the Imperium.
Yeah. But by far and away, it doesn't matter what time you're in, there are 3 big problems for everyone. And that is Abaddon, Vashtor, and Angron. And together, those 3 are working to assemble an infinity gauntlet of sorts, picking up piece by piece to assemble a key to something that will horrify the universe, I'm sure, but we're not sure what it is yet. Whatever it is, I'm sure it's going to be terrible for everyone, because last time Abaddon was left alone to count, everything was cut in half when he got to 13. So we'll see. That has yet to pan out. For now, the biggest problem is Angron. He's a Primarch like Guilliman, essentially a demigod that serves Khorne, the god of war. Abaddon is the face of chaos right now. All four gods are kind of buddy-buddy with him, but Angron doesn't necessarily follow him, if that makes sense. Neither does Vashtor, because Abaddon's kind of outranked by both of them.
Really? How so?
Well,
I mean, I get Angron as a Primarch, and I'm not familiar with Vashtor at all.
He's like Be'lakor, where he's a mini-god. Trying very hard to be a full-blown god. So he's
a really, really, really powerful demon.
Exactly. But even though Vashtor is a very strong demon, and Abaddon is the current champion of chaos, Angron is the biggest problem right now, and he just happens to be helping them. Because, dear Lord, is he a problem? He
seems to just be raging around, just doing whatever.
There's a lot of things in 40k that are long living, very few that are downright unkillable, and Angron is one of them.
Things, yeah.
There is no way to actually stop him. If you kill him, he'll be back in 8 weeks, 8 days, and 8 hours, no matter what. Which, by the way, is stupid, because if you do the math, that's 2 months, 1 week, and 1 day. I see what they're going for, but the arithmetic did not pan out.
The math is not mathing.
Either way, when he does reappear, not only does he appear, 8 omens will randomly appear around him, striking terror into anybody who bears witness to them. You'll see them and basically go mad on sight.
I love that. And by I love that, I actually mean I really hate that.
Yeah. And it's not like he's been sitting around doing nothing either. A lot of the Trader Primarchs are doing question mark right
They're just
now?
wandering around, causing chaos.
They're doing things, but Angron's very... I'm going to get in trouble for this. The other Trader Primarchs are coming to the gym and doing 10 minutes of cardio and leaving. It's good for their health.
It's very good for their health.
They're going to live longer.
Entirely respectable to them.
Angron's benching everything he can. Even the treadmills. He's doing so much right now.
He's that one guy doing CrossFit in the middle of the gym on equipment that should not be doing CrossFit.
Yeah, he's doing a lot.
He's doing those weird pull-ups where you fling yourself up on the bar.
The biggest thing he's been doing right now is, long and short of it, the dark side of the Imperium, the one that's severed from the light of the Emperor's light, found a budget version of it. It's not as bright as the Emperor's at all, but this psychic lighthouse they call the Coral Engine can kind of do the same job. Not as well. The Emperor is very bright, but it helps. It's better than nothing.
It's better than literally nothing.
It's better than nothing. That's wonderful. The downside to having this small sliver of hope is it is screaming out to Angron.
And Angron's just like, I want to get it. I want to get that.
No, it drives him mad. It's the equivalent of always being aware of where the Eiffel Tower is, and it's howling Skrillex into your ears at all times. You're just, no matter where you are on Earth, you just know that's the Eiffel Tower, and I've been hearing Bangarang for the last month.
I think I would go mad. You know what? Never mind. I'm with Khorne on that one, or not Khorne. Excuse me. I'm with Angron on that one.
Exactly. Makes total sense why he beelines it right to
I want to kill that thing. I want to get rid of it.
You have to understand how angry, his name's Angron, he's really angry at this. Physics stops functioning.
He's so angry, physics stop functioning.
You hear he's coming at that thing in a straight line with his fleet, and you assume, yes, he's on the bridge, like normal, right? No, he has used his very muscular wings and is currently flying through space, screaming at the top of his lungs at that thing, with packs of dogs running on fire and an entire World Eater legion behind him. Yeah.
What in the Greek mixed with Chinese mythology?
Right? But this isn't going to catch the Coral Engine unaware. Obviously, the Imperium knows this is a rare win. We don't get these often. Please, Jesus, protect it. So, surrounding it are Grey Knights, Inquisitors, a bunch of Space Marine chapters, and an entire Indomitus fleet, which is huge. It's huge.
There's a lot of firepower defending that Eiffel Tower.
There's a whole book dedicated to it. I will cut right to the point. Angron starts here and gets to here. It's a straight line of massacre. None of that stops him.
Oh.
None of that stops him at all.
He said, I fucking hate Skrillex. Turn that shit off right now.
And it's not, you have to understand, usually World Eaters are fight everything slow, just line and murder forward. But it's just piercing right at that Coral Engine.
It's a spear.
Angron literally just hurls himself at the planet and superhero lands.
Directly on the Coral Engine?
Near it.
As close enough.
As close as he can get. As he's raging his way towards that, they do manage to trick him into a punji pit of sorts, where he's surrounded by Grey Knights, Inquisitors, and they all start chanting rites of banishment while they're firing everything they can at him. Everything. I don't think you understand. Everything. They don't care if they're out of bullets after this. If Angron goes away, that's fine. We have 2 months and some change.
They're doing the bit from one of the newest Star Wars movie where they've got Kylo Ren in the back just shouting more.
Exactly, and it does drop him to his knees. And the book is very clear here. He would be dead. He'll be back, but dead. And as if all that wasn't bad enough, they then take the Coral Engine, which is your budget Emperor's Light, and shine it right on him.
Oh,
as a spotlight. They want him gone. This whole time he's still fighting. He manages to rip an Inquisitor apart while she's still chanting like rites of banishment.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh, he's mad.
He's mad.
Again, now it's pointed right at him. He's madder than ever. Eventually, though, like I said, it does drop him to a knee. He's gonna die. This is a lot. Even for a Primarch, this will be the end of Angron. It's going to be a commercial break for Angron.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, 2 months later, he'll still be like back doing the same shit.
It's here that Angron feels an ungodly force behind him that is so strong, he's paralyzed for a moment. Whatever the hell that thing is, puts a hand on his shoulder, and together they both stand up and in unison swing their swords. That's Khorne behind him.
Oh, jeez.
Swinging a planet-sized sword with his greatest champion right at the Coral Engine.
So that thing's not around anymore, is it?
It not only breaks the engine in one swing, it cracks the planet as well.
Jesus.
And we need to zoom out for a moment here. You have to understand how many brownie points. This is such a big win for Khorne. It's unfathomable.
Huge.
He's got a checklist of things for you to do that worship him. This checks all of them. Big war, big violence, running right at a mage and throttling him. This is everything he wants. It's so great. So because of all this just direct prayer indirectly to Khorne, a massive red wave washes from the planet and covers every survivor on the fleet, on the nearby planets, and in the system. And in unison, you hear thousands of voices shouting, "Blood for the Blood God," as they begin to rip each other apart. Everything in that system is washed in a curse from Khorne, and it immediately converts them.
They're just going milk for the cornflakes.
Exactly. They're the only things that don't get hit by this are Sisters of Silence and Custodes, and even they have like a twitch now.
They're just like,
They're just slightly angrier now.
They're just a slight bit more violent than they were before.
But everything that's shy of that, which is pretty much everybody else, an entire Indomitus fleet, gone.
Yeah, those are now
Gone.
those are now Khorne demons.
It's so bad that the Imperium they don't bother to try and figure out who turned traitor, who not. They declared it all a wash.
Yeah.
All of them are traitors. Shoot them on sight. That's it. They didn't bother, which is kind of unfair because a lot of people didn't actually. It was kind of like it wasn't a guaranteed turn, but a lot of them turned, and then if you didn't, well, actually, one of my favorite ones, there's a sister who's trying to calm her other sisters down, right? A sister of battle, and she actually succeeds for a second before a raging Titan guns her down.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
She said, "Sisters, do not fall for the curse. We will rise from this victory."
That's exactly right.
Then the little audio clip from Mech Assault 2 Squished plays. That's only a reference that I and like probably 2 other people in the audience are gonna understand.
Pretty much. And this obviously downs Angron for he's got to wait for his respawn timer. And there's this really sweet moment where Khorne gives him peace for a second. He gets to see the universe the way Khorne does. He doesn't feel the butcher's nails eating at his mind as much anymore. He's calm before reappearing on a battlefield somewhere else.
And then he's angry again.
No, he's there for a moment, and he laments that someday I'll feel my real death, but for now I don't get to. And that starts the cycle.
And that just makes him more angry.
And that's where we leave Angron completely unchecked, though possibly not for much longer. The lion's back, and he force-fed him the Emperor's shield, so put him back on respawn, and a lot of orcs are beelining it for him.
Oh yeah, because they're pissed about.
A lot of orcs are beelining it for him, which
They're pissed about Yarick.
could be worse for everything and everyone than when they were left unattended with Tyranids. But before we get into the orcs, if you haven't already, I know I say this every episode, I know a lot of you are already there. But please go check out the Patreon. If you like this and want an extra episode every week, access to the community Discord, priority voting, and you want to be a good person. The universe operates on karma. Doing this gets you good karma. That's a guarantee. That's a fact, by the way. That's a fact. So please go check out patreon.com/Isyander and Kora. We're currently on a mission to 500 patrons. We are blazing through this quickly. We've already shot past every other goal we've set. When we hit 500, like the previous ones, limited edition patch, only going to those 500. There are people who are going to be stacking these.
Yeah.
There are people who've been there since day one who are
We already have a couple people who are stacking these.
Exactly. And that's the only way you're ever going to get one of those. We'll never, ever produce them again. So if you want one of those, please head on over. If you want to help support the show, get more of the show, head on over to patreon.com/Isyander and Kora, or click the link in the description /show notes for our audio listeners. Also, we're on a mission to 10,000, which is very possible. We set the goal to be there by the summer, and we are going to be
3/4 of the way there.
We're going to be there.
A
Guaranteed.
little over 3/4 of the way there.
If you want to help us out, hit that target. Please subscribe, hit the bell button, like, comment. The machine gods hate us. It's just a fact.
It's unfortunate.
They want short form content to compete with other platforms, but they really don't like long form content. The only way we can get them to recommend it is by liking, commenting, and subscribing. You guys are already awesome at that. I know you're already going to do this, but for you new people here, hi, help us out. Thank you so much, and let's get back into it with the orcs. The most important thing the orcs are doing is rapidly rallying around Gaz, who, much like Guilliman in the current era, full-blown died.
Gaz full-blown died?
Yeah, but instead of getting a revive from Dad like he did, Gaz just got his head sewn onto a bigger body. And this is where this era turns so stupid. So stupid, and I love it. You may be wondering, orcs respect and follow the biggest orc. Where would you find an orc bigger than Gaz? Most of them already were following him, right? Mm-hmm. Logic would lead you to think he's the biggest orc. And you're right. That's the neat bit. They couldn't. He's huge. There was no orc bigger than him.
He was the biggest orc.
So they took what was left of his body and stitched it up with a bunch of other orc bodies to make a bigger one. A lot of orcs actually agreed to this willingly. My favorite being an orc who ripped his own heart out to, quote, give it to the boss, completely crushing it in the process. But this is the orcs we're talking about. So they still crammed it into his chest cavity and just paired it with a fuel pump. Then, to get this all started, they found bear with me here. To get Gaz back up and running, they used a power generator trapped between the warp and real space to shoot a massive beam onto the planet where Gaz's body was. This should have incinerated the surface of the planet, but because orcs, it all went into Gaz and made him grow even bigger. Because, I'm not joking, an orc wearing a white lab coat said this would work. He's a white lab coat and a pizza cutter strapped to his forehead is the orc equivalent of a doctorate. Yes. Plus residency.
Plus residency.
So it worked. And Gaz is so much bigger now.
He's huge.
He's, you know the way the Emperor serves as a beacon for mankind to travel around, right? Gaz has become that for the orcs.
Gaz is the emperor of orc kind.
Except for being, he's not stuck on a CPAP machine going...
He's got a fuel pump. He bleeds octane.
Basically. And if the orcs aren't actively going to Gaz just because they can feel, there's a big one, they're all just agitated now. Passively, every orc in the universe is just angrier now.
They're just like,
they're anxious.
Cruising for a bruising.
Thankfully, they have found a way to deal with all this stress in the form of therapy. That's right.
Punch therapy. No?
No. In the 42nd millennium, they sat down and discovered a new way to deal with their insecurities. And that is to charge head first into the Great Rift, which they call Gork's Grin, by the way. And because they are orcs, I'm not joking, they go in one end and it will always spit them out at the best fight happening. They just appear places now.
I love orcs.
They just appear places now.
I love orcs. If they enter Gork's Grin upside down, does it become Mork's frown?
They never frown. They're always happy. This is a great time to be alive. They even have a reason as to why demons keep coming out of it. And it's not because that is a portal to hell screaming into the void. That's not why. It's because, obviously, that is Gork's smiling mouth, and he spits demons out for them to fight for fun. And also because they don't taste very good.
And also...
Yeah, with the biggest fights ever happening all the time in the galaxy, and a direct way to jump into all of them with a single leader unifying them, it doesn't matter that the Tyranids beat them. There's plenty of fight to go around.
Yeah.
They'll keep getting bigger. And they're not the only race uniting. The Eldar are currently doing the same thing under a new-ish god that may just save their souls from Slaanesh.
Oh, thank God for them.
It's a long story. I'm gonna cliff note a lot of it. But we wouldn't have Guilliman back if not for the Eldar getting it together.
Really?
No. They need allies. They need allies desperately. Remember, they're a shadow of their former power, an endangered species outright. And on top of that, it's not like, there are 500 of us, but we agree. No, there are 500 of us, and each of us have a different plan. So there are even few of them left over from that one time they created a chaos god by everyone, and I mean everyone, having an OnlyFans.
This is an entire galaxy getting jiggy with it.
Basically. So having no better options left, I mean, you can't negotiate with the Orks. The Tau are seen as naive on a cosmic scale just because they're really new. I mean, think about how old the Eldar are. And
They're
the
ancient.
Tau are the newest kids on the block. They think they're kids relative to them. And it's also because the Tau fight for the greater good, and they have a Geneva Convention of sorts, and the Eldar just go...
Just wait till you meet everybody else here.
You tried to talk to the Orks? Oh, you sweet summer child. So the only option left was the Imperium. But to negotiate with the Imperium, you need a level-headed leader. Cue Gilliman.
Gilliman.
Yep. So they united, and they gave Gilliman a revive because he has a ray gun. Long story short, they barely pull it off, and now things are kind of good between the Imperium and
They're like,
the Eldar.
okay, they're no longer actively fighting.
I wouldn't even say they're okay. They've pulled off a few cooperative missions. You have to remember, at the end of the day, even if Gilliman wants to ally with them, the rest of the Imperium is the most xenophobic thing on
Yeah, they still got this. Still got the line in the speech, "Purge the Xeno," and I don't think they're willing to give that up just yet.
Exactly. But under the table, they've been able to work together on a few things, so that's about as friendly as things get in 40K.
Well, I've seen the memes. I guess they get a little friendlier too.
We're not touching on Gilliman in your brain. No.
I've already seen the memes.
Anyway, that's not the only thing the Eldar have going for them, because thanks to the crack in the sky, everything psychic got a buff. If you didn't know, the Eldar are the most psychic.
They're space elves.
Big boy psychic. They were created specifically to counter the Necrons because they weren't psychic. So, the Eldar are ludicrous right now. Their stealth units, who are really good at sneaking around,
Now they're straight up invisible.
they can vanish. They have these Banshee units, straight up fight with a hurricane around them.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. They are... Every day there are new Eldar with new powers, some that have not been seen since when they were fighting the Necrons. So
They're huge. They're big.
Yeah, everything's been amped, and in their case, that is a very big buff. All of that also means that the Eldar are getting closer and closer, and they already almost have their own version of Primarchs running about, and soon even a whole pantheon, maybe. That's where the lore seems to be going. If you haven't noticed, everyone seems to be getting a god of some kind, and the Tau are no exception. They are not very psychic at all.
No?
No.
No.
Save for the Necrons, they are... Well, the Necrons have outright no presence in the warp. They have a really, really, really low presence in the warp, and there's not even that many of them. So they don't really interact with the warp very much. They have a way to travel just fine without using the warp, unlike pretty much everyone else. So this big crack in the sky is just like...
What is that?
Not my problem.
My problem.
But since the Psychic Awakening, the Tau have had all kinds of weird stuff happening. Firstly, they expanded out and held their own against Mortarion's Plague War.
Really?
Pretty well, considering they're really tiny. To be fair, Mortarion was throwing everything in the kitchen at Gilliman. He really wanted his brother dead. So they didn't fight the full force of the Plague War, but still impressive.
Yeah, because that's still like a fully amped Chaos Gods, just like viruses, corona, syphilis.
But most interestingly of all, the Tau collectively believe in this thing called the greater good. Remember, I mentioned this earlier. Mm-hmm. It's the basic idea that you do what's the best for the most people every time. So if you give a Tau the trolley problem, they'll choose the one that kills the least people every time. Even if you change it to the version where you have to push an impossibly fat man that can somehow stop an entire train with his body weight. Which I have always hated because A, it's frankly impossible. If you ate enough to stop a train with your body weight, you could not walk anywhere, let alone walk to a platform in front of me where I can conveniently push you. And let's say, for the sake of argument, you can. Who am I, Clark Kent?
I'm not going to be able to push you.
I can't push 8 plus 100 pounds.
Oh,
just because it's in front of me doesn't mean I can suddenly move it.
To stop a full runaway trolley, the physics behind that, they have to weigh a lot more than 800 pounds.
Exactly. Impossible philosophical questions aside, a lot of Tau have been seeing something that looks like the greater good made flesh.
Oh.
It's a 5-fingered, many-armed god taking on a vague resemblance to an ethereal wearing a blank and impassive face. It seems benevolent, but wants to spread its arms across the galaxy and reshape everything in its image. I'm not sure if it's a full-blown god yet. Tau shouldn't have the presence to make this happen. Like I said, not much of an imprint in the warp. This shouldn't be happening. But they are one of the few races that cohabitate. So there are people, like humans, who do have quite the presence in the warp, who do worship the greater good. So maybe that's what's causing
the more people that they, or outside races that they add to their faction,
and
they by proxy get like technically a bigger presence.
And if I was a person and I was told, worship a quadriplegic somewhere in the galaxy, or worship the concept of being nice, though calculating about it, I could see why your average peasant makes the choice.
And it's just like,
even though they are bluefish people.
I think I'd rather be nice.
Exactly. But what isn't up in the air is Commander Farsight. For the sake of argument, he's just their Gilliman. We'll just go with that.
Can he see the future?
No.
Oh, well then why is he called Farsight?
I'm not sure. But he's been taking victory after victory and has gained the ability to summon demons. Yeah.
No presence in the warp, and yet they can summon demons?
Yeah. It was kind of a temptation thing, but they helped him out. And he is constantly getting DM'd by Khorne and Tzeentch. Like, hey, you wanna join us?
You want some of my demons?
Yeah,
just come over here. You can have some of my demons.
So far,
you want some more demons?
So far, he's held firm, but I'll be honest, the Tau are cool. Their lore doesn't move very often. Farsight's already been tempted a couple of times. This is nothing new. The summoning demons is, but him resisting, it's not new. The Eldar have a whole new god and more coming soon, maybe. The Emperor is awake. The Necrons are shutting off the warp. Orks are uniting. Chaos is just Fortnite dancing. And the Tyranids are coming from every angle. Meanwhile, the Tau get maybe a new god?
Maybe.
Farsight is tempted again, but he holds the line. I really want them to get some big moves soon, because I think every group, especially right now, should get their own big moment of some kind. Because as it stands right now, if any one faction just looks at the Tau directly, that's it.
They're too small.
It's over. They're done. Any faction, not even the strong ones. I'd say if the whole Imperium just looked at the Tau.
No, I know a little bit about the Tau, and like from what little I've garnered, they're small. They cannot hold their own on like a full frontal assault. It'd be a massacre. It'd be a bloodbath.
Hopefully they get more lore. We'll also be doing a full Tau episode at some point, so maybe I'm just underread in that department, but time will tell. For now, that was entire quick and dirty on Era Indomitus. I know a lot has been glossed over, but that's okay. It's just a snapshot. Pretty much everything I've talked about today could be its own episode. Speaking of which, don't forget to vote for our next episode. Remember, the 4 options are the Tau, the Tyranids, the Night Lords, and the Grey Knights. First 3 get made, last one gets cut off.
Unfortunately.
It is how it is. I have my theories about who's going to win, but we will see.
I'm kind of rooting for the Tau, but like that's just coming from like they have mecha. I like mecha.
A lot of people hate the Tau, though.
I get it. A lot of people hate the Tau, but they have mecha.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I like mecha.
And Commander Farsight is a really cool model right now.
They've got mecha?
Oh god, you're so
They're big robots. Who does not love big robots that you sit in and go, nya, nya?
Imperium
Or maybe
gets-
take a big sword and go, nya.
The Imperium gets big mechs too. So does Chaos.
Yeah, but they're like mechs.
So
There's a
so,
difference
so do
between
the
mechs and
Orks.
mechas.
The Orks get them too.
There's a difference.
Hey,
There's a
the
difference.
names you've been seeing scroll by have been our wonderful patrons. If you want to join this ever-growing list, please go check out the Patreon. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and we will see you next time.